Welcome, curious minds, to a journey back to the early 18th century, into the fascinating and perplexing world of George Psalmanazar. Prepare to be utterly bewildered by one of history's most audacious impostors, a man who not only convinced the intellectual elite of his time that he hailed from a far-off, exotic land, but also conjured an entire culture, language, and history out of thin air. How did he do it? And why? Join us as we unravel the incredible story of George Psalmanazar, the enigmatic figure who fooled an entire nation. In the intellectual ferment of 18th century Europe, an age captivated by exotic lands and new discoveries, one man crafted a masterpiece of deception so audacious, so meticulously detailed, that it captivated an entire continent. This was George Psalmanazar, an individual whose very name became synonymous with ingenious fraud, a self-proclaimed native of a fantastical island called Formosa. His life is an epic tale of extraordinary imposture, intellectual brilliance misdirected, and a profound journey from audacious charlatanry to quiet, sincere repentance, a narrative that speaks volumes about human credulity and the enduring power of narrative itself. In an era when distant lands were still largely uncharted and travel accounts eagerly consumed, George Psalmanazar emerged from obscurity to become the author of one of history's most elaborate literary hoaxes. Born around 1679 in southwestern France, his true name, background, and precise origins remained shrouded in the very mystery he so skillfully cultivated throughout his early life. What is clear is that he possessed a formidable intellect, a remarkable talent for languages, and an audacious imagination that, combined with a desperate need for survival, would lead him to construct an entire fictional world and present it as his own truth. Psalmanazar's initial years were marked by instability and a restless spirit. Educated at a Jesuit school, he reportedly excelled in his studies but soon abandoned academic pursuits, driven by wanderlust and poverty. He became a vagabond, constantly on the move, adopting various disguises and personas to survive. He pretended to be an Irish pilgrim, then a Japanese convert to Christianity, perfecting the art of performance and learning to mimic accents and customs with astounding fidelity. These early deceptions, though small in scale, were the crucible in which his later, grander invention would be forged, honing his skills in observation, mimicry, and the art of persuasion. It was during these nomadic years, possibly while serving in the military or encountering a Scottish chaplain, Alexander Innes, that Psalmanazar conceived his most audacious identity, a native of the hitherto unknown island of Formosa. He didn't merely claim to be from this island, he meticulously invented it. He conjured a rich, detailed culture complete with a unique alphabet, a complex grammar, a polytheistic religion involving sun and moon worship, bizarre dietary customs, like eating raw meat and human flesh, and an elaborate social hierarchy. He learned to speak his invented Formosan language with apparent fluency, even writing it from right to left, and developed an almost theatrical performance of his adopted persona, ready to answer any question about his fictional homeland. In 1703, under the patronage of Reverend Innes, who saw in him a potential trophy for Anglican conversion and scholarly fame, Psalmanazar arrived in England. London, then a hub of intellectual curiosity and colonial ambition, was ripe for his deception. He was immediately embraced by prominent figures in academia and theology. Bishops, scientists, and members of the Royal Society clamored to meet the exotic Formosan. He was paraded as living proof of a new culture, subjected to rigorous questioning, and asked to demonstrate his language and customs. His composure, quick wit, and seemingly encyclopedic knowledge of his invented world allowed him to pass these tests with astonishing success, cementing his status as a genuine curiosity. The pinnacle of Psalmanazar's hoax was the publication of his book, An Historical and Geographical Description of Formosa, an island subject to the Emperor of Japan. Released in 1704, it became an instant bestseller, cementing his fame and spreading his fabricated world across Europe. The book was a masterwork of imaginative detail, providing maps, illustrations of Formosan rituals, and meticulous descriptions of its society, all entirely concocted by Psalmanazar. He performed his Formosan identity flawlessly, eating roots and unusual meats, writing his alphabet backwards, and even claiming to have been offered human sacrifices in his homeland. For a time, he even lectured at Oxford, teaching his invented language to eager students, further demonstrating the powerful grip his elaborate fantasy held on the intellectual elite. Yet, even the most intricate web of lies eventually frays. Over time, inconsistencies began to emerge in Psalmanazar's increasingly elaborate tales. Scholars, particularly Edmund Halley and later Dr. Samuel Johnson, grew skeptical, noting contradictions in his accounts and inconsistencies in his Formosan language. His continued insistence on outlandish customs, such as the sacrifice of 18,000 boys annually, stretched credulity to its breaking point. Under mounting pressure and internal conviction, Psalmanazar eventually made a full confession, first privately to friends and then publicly, though the exact timing and nature of this full public disclosure are debated. He acknowledged the entirety of his story was a fabrication, expressing deep remorse for his deception. Following his confession, Psalmanazar famously underwent a profound personal transformation. He renounced his former life of deception and dedicated himself to a path of genuine scholarship and moral rectitude. He lived a quiet, humble life, earning a modest living as a literary hack, translating and contributing to various encyclopedic works, and publishing essays on morality and religion. He became a respected, albeit peculiar, member of London's literary scene, known for his honesty and erudition. Dr. Samuel Johnson, despite having been among those initially duped, later became a friend and held him in high regard, recognizing his genuine intellect and sincere repentance. Psalmanazar's later life was a remarkable testament to the capacity for human change and the pursuit of truth after a monumental lie. George Psalmanazar passed away in 1763, leaving behind an autobiography that offered a full and honest account of his extraordinary life and his famous imposture, published posthumously. His story endures as one of the most compelling cautionary tales in history, a stark illustration of human gullibility, the allure of the exotic, and the power of a captivating narrative to override reason. Yet, beyond the deception, Psalmanazar's legacy is also one of remarkable intellectual prowess and an extraordinary journey of self-redemption. He remains a unique and endlessly fascinating figure, an accidental pioneer in the psychology of belief and the construction of identity, whose invented nation forever holds a curious place on the map of human imagination.